just want to sing sad songs till the break of dawn with a guitar on my knee. Clear night sky, firelight night, dream of melody. But he don't know I'll never let go of the ones who set me free. I just want to sing sad songs till the church bells tone and I leave this devil behind me. Whoa, behind me.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Hope, Resilience, and Action with me, Sergeant Major Retired Mike Aschinger. We're on our 12-month mission to just bring stories of hope to people who are in tough situations. With us today is the former owner, president, and vice president of two major construction companies, really in the Mountain West, but you've done work internationally, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
So he's also a diver, now like a big-time scuba diver, and I don't know how you manage to do it, but you get around a lot of places. Like on Facebook, I'm like, how can you even fly to those places in that sequence? So he is the father of 5 girls who are beloved to me. My uncle, he had like 20 adopted kids who just kind of started hanging around the house growing up, and I got to know some of them too. Now has 10 grandchildren with the 11th on the way, Guy Abrahamson. And thanks for being here, Uncle Guy.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks.
it's tough to speak with your heroes sometimes, but this podcast was supposed to cover as many negative life situations as I could think to cover, and I've covered close to all of them. I have a young lady coming up who recovered from life-altering brain surgery. She'll be guest 11, and I'm actually going to be guest 12, and then it'll be over. But there's one out there that we don't talk about a lot, and I was pulling up some stats before we got up here today, and it's something about 52 to 75% of men are in positions where they're providers or they're expected to be providers, and that carries with it fear, concern. There's nothing I fear more than not being able to financially provide for my 8,000 kids and family. And so skip a few years back, I was getting a little nervous because I wasn't in the greatest place job-wise, and I was like, oh gosh, am I going to have to move my family to go fall in on a job that will support them? And I was freaked out about that, and I was like, I know who I'm going to call. I want to call my Uncle Guy. I just thought I was going to call you for advice. I had no idea you had this amazing story in your background. And so without further ado, with as much detail as you'd like, as more the merrier, please tell your super scary story.
Okay. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure which story I told you, but this is the one I think I shared with you when I was living in California.
Yep. And what led you to not living in California, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I had recently finished college in construction management. Had just bought a brand new home in Southern California. Expected the world and life to go smoothly. I had scheduled my California state contractor's license test. I had scheduled another contractor's license test in Utah. I was planning a trip to Utah to take the Utah contractor's license test and was going to get home just in time to take my California license test. My car broke down in St. George, Utah. I was stranded there, being a young father with, I think, 3 kids at the time. Yeah, 3 kids. I missed my Utah contractor's license test date, couldn't get there. Didn't get home in time to get my California contractor's license test. When I finally did get back, which wasn't that long, but long enough to miss the test, went into work only to find out I was being laid off. with yeah, I'm sorry, I get
Yeah, it's okay.
a little emotional about that, but yeah, and immediately I thought, no big deal. I'm young, intelligent. I've got a great experience for my age. I thought it'll be easy to find work, find a job, and nothing went right. Could I searched everywhere. This was in the early '90s, downturn in the economy. If you were alive then, I finally found a job in Idaho. Drove up to Idaho, did some interviewing up there, was offered a job. I called my wife and said, "Hey, I've been offered this job with this company. It might be in Northern California. The company's out of Boise." I said, "I'm on my way home now." Drove home, got home, only to find out that the company that had offered me the job didn't get the work that they were expecting and couldn't hire me. And literally, had on the verge of losing my home. The house was upside down at the time by over $30,000. I owed more than the house was worth, which rarely happened in the California market. But I was fortunate enough to experience that. I finally had no other choice. I had to lose the home. Um, I finally did get a ridiculous job offer making less than half what I was making, but you got to do what you got to do. I literally loaded loaded everything I owned into a U-Haul. And Julie and I um, uh, drove a U-Haul in one car. We had secured an apartment in the wrong side of town that we could afford, but we actually couldn't even afford it. We didn't have enough money to complete the deposit that we needed. So on the way to move into our apartment, we stopped at the uh, pawn shop, opened up the back of the U-Haul, and just started pulling items out until we had enough money to pay for the deposit. And moved in. I started going to work. I was working as a carpenter building houses, which is the only thing I could find then. And it got to the point where I'm like, man, I need, this isn't cutting it. I need to get another job. The only other job, I was finally offered a job at a pizza place. I don't remember if it was delivering pizzas or working in the pizza shop. That I don't remember. Um, and and let me take you to that point. I mean, that's where I was. We were barely making enough money to survive, pay rent, and buy food.
That is, that's like a catastrophic fall from grace. I mean, the
Yeah,
where, yeah, that's where you
from
were.
from
Yeah.
from a brand new home, a beautiful home in Southern California, and people had told me, oh, it's never a bad time to buy real estate. It'll always increase in value. Horrible timing. Horrible timing. I did end up losing that home, um, because what they told me was, okay, the mortgage company isn't going to come after you for the money, but they can. So you need to file bankruptcy. So we had to do that, file bankruptcy, which really isn't a fun experience. Um, and now at least I've got a job. I'm going to work every day and trying to keep. We had two older cars, just trying to keep them running and live life. Just trying to provide.
And those drives, well, number one, when you get back and you get laid off, was that because the company had lost work? They were part of that downturn then, or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the owners had tears in their eyes when they had to let me go. I mean, they didn't want to. They knew what that would do to me. And for a while, I tried, contracting on my own, side jobs, anything I could do to uh, keep it going, but there just wasn't anything.
So can I ask, in we'll keep it between us and whatever people on the internet see this. My CEO always says between us and the Chinese and the FBI listening. But so was there a lowest moment that you remember, or just a oh my gosh, I can't make this? Was there ever a time where you were on the edge of giving up or giving up?
Yeah. When I was off for the job in Idaho, and I got home thinking, okay, we'll probably still lose the house, but at least I got a good job. I could make a new start in Idaho. Not a big deal. And when they called and said, sorry, I mean, that was like, that was like time to curse God. That was like, why are you doing this to me?
Were you able to share that with Julie at the time? Or did you have to keep it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's just the worst fear in the world, because it's not just you on the line, but it's a wife and kids on the line.
Yeah, and kids.
And they're all looking to you to be the hero and take care of them. And all of a sudden,
and the embarrassment, really. I mean, it's like, maybe embarrassment's the wrong word, but you're a failure.
Yes. And the sucky thing is you're not a failure, just to point that out, because I know there's a lot of people that go through this. Right now in the firm I'm at, we're in the process, not really of laying people off, but of furloughing, because this government shutdown that's going on, which is still just as emotional for me. I mean, because there's no guarantee on the other side. And these are people that look to you to provide their own family's worth of stability. Okay, that's the low place. Now, can you walk us through what happened next and what led to you scuba diving all over the U.S.? Because there's a huge gap between you delivering or making pizza, one of the two, and working as a carpenter, and then where you're at now.
Well, by this point, the economy and where I moved to in Utah was on the upturn, and I said that I can't do this anymore. I know I need to start looking for more work that's more suited to my skills and the specialized trade that I knew.
So you're no good with pizza, just to put that out there then.
No. I actually never started. I was offered the job, and because of the story I'm about to tell you, I didn't have to take that job.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was driving downtown Salt Lake City, and I was passing 2100 South and 3rd West, I believe is the address of it. But anyway, just from driving by the project, I knew that it was going to be a Home Depot. In California, I had bid multiple Home Depots. I knew the plans better than probably the guy that was building it at the time. And just by looking at the footprint of the building, and it's the shape of it, I said, oh, that's a Home Depot. So I actually stopped, and at this point, I would have just been happy to have been a carpenter on that job. And so I walked into the superintendent's office and I said, "You're building a Home Depot, aren't you?" He goes, "Yeah, I am." And I said, I started telling him things about his job that he probably didn't know. And I said, and one more thing, I would be willing to bet that the garden center isn't even designed yet, is it? And he looked at me like, how do you know this? And it was pretty common practice. Home Depots were pretty cookie cutter, but the garden center on everyone was different depending on where they were located. And he goes, yeah, the garden center isn't. I said, I'm looking for a job. And he could have easily put me to work as a carpenter, but he goes, hang on a second, there's someone else I need you to talk to. So he got on the phone and he calls up his boss, which was the general field superintendent for this large construction company in Utah. And he says, you need to talk to him. So he sent me to his office, and I drove down to their office immediately in Utah. And I met with him, and I interviewed with him, as it turns out. And he goes, just a second, I need to talk to one other person. So he sits me down in a room, and come to find out, I'm now sitting in the room with the president of the construction company. And the guy goes, one of the questions he asked me, he goes, "Where do you want to be in 5 years?" And I said, "I want to be sitting in that seat where you're sitting." And so I left that day. They said, "Hey, we want to hire you." And by the time I talked to the general field superintendent, I talked to the owner of the company, and I drove home with everything I'd been through with, like, I've heard all this before.
Yeah.
But by the time I got home, they offered me a job more than I was making in California. They almost a whole new wardrobe of shirts from their company. and I started working as a superintendent on other projects of tilt-up projects, concrete tilt-up projects. And I was now working side by side with the original guy I stopped and talked to at that superintendent shed, and just doing the same thing he was doing about 2 days later. And in an instant, entire life turned around.
Well, thank goodness you went and took that drive, and thank goodness you went and made that stop and had that talk.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hit that low point and other things take control because there's a give up that happens. And the purpose of this episode is to try to teach people not to give up. And there's lots of different ways to get through different things. But what was your secret sauce there? Because a lot of times when you're in the deepest, darkest place in your life is not when you get in the car and drive up and just happen to stop and say, by the way, I want to be president of this company in 5 years.
I don't even remember why I went to Salt Lake that day. But I do remember driving by that specific job and looking at it going, I'm at the bottom. It really can't get deeper. I might as well stop and talk to this guy. And I was just stopping to get any job that might be better than the job I had. The fact that it turned out the way that it did was a great ending. And I look back and it's tough to say, because that's an ending that some people don't get immediately. I mean, this wasn't immediate. This was a couple of years after the initial downturn.
No, and that's probably a good point to make. It wasn't like, oh, this bad stuff happened. Next day, you're like, hey, can I be the superintendent? And they're like, sure, come on down.
Yeah. So, I mean, life somehow changed. Where I got that, I think it was just I couldn't be any worse off. Might as well keep trying.
But 2 years of suck, you could have easily fallen into any level of addiction to. I mean, and I'm sure you've seen people in the career field that do, especially in that suck period, that just fall away. And I worked for you sometimes when I was younger. That's no joke work. Like, to this day, when people ask me where I got my work ethic, I'm like, I do whatever I can to not be in 100+ degrees, pounding nails and wood, 10 hours a day.
That's what I tell the kids that are working. I go, do you hear the sound of that every time you swing that hammer? Stay in school. Stay in school.
Okay. Anyways, no. And I joke about that. I really think everybody should do some manual labor in their life. I think it's a good thing for them. I think people that haven't, because you did 2 years of gritty resilience living through heck. I mean, carpentry and residential construction, right?
Yeah, I was building pools in California occasionally. As that wasn't full-time work, so we'd get a pool, and then I'd go, that is hard work. Building a pool, that's digging a pool, building the pool. That was hard work. Framed, I did framing. It was anything I could do.
And you were gutting it out the whole time. 2 years, you didn't fall into any of the traps that people fall into. So what's your advice to somebody that has a calamitous fallout of what they think their life plans are? Some young guy out there who's a dad loses everything.
This is going to sound, maybe it'll sound stupid. I don't know. I mentioned cursing God. That was real. That was like, I'm doing everything I can correctly. I'm living right. And why are you just kicking me down? I think that the one thing uh, that didn't let me fall, like you're talking, was hanging on to that thread of hope and faith in God.
Taking notes. So faith played into your resilience.
Yeah. And a responsibility that I had to 3 small children, but also it, I can't imagine what that would have been like going through this without the support of a phenomenal wife who never once, you know, even resembled anything negative. Like you're not providing. It was, we're gonna make it.
I think I'm going to call this episode Faith, Hope, and Family, because I think that sums that all up pretty close. Thread of hope. It's like when I deal with people who are dealing with suicidal ideation, most of them have let go of any thread of hope.
Yeah.
And so, what was was your thread of hope family? Was your thread of hope faith? Was there some thread of hope that was like commercial? I'm going to make it. I mean, I'm going to.
So I think over the years, I mean, this wasn't a one-off. There's been other tragedies in my life, far worse than that. I mean, this was economic, but the hope that one day everything's going to be okay. The hope that okay, yeah, life sucks, but there's something better to look forward to. Hope for a better world, a better place.
You might remember this. I lost when I didn't graduate high school when I was a kid. I lost any hope for like family, future, house, career. I was going to be a rock star, maybe. So apparently people don't have good taste in music or something, but so that didn't work out. And you were around then, but
Yeah.
thankfully I was able to make some good money pounding nails into wood while I was trying to be a rock star. And then I wandered off to Wichita, Kansas after I left Utah, and still hopeless. I didn't get my little ray of hope until my second tour in Iraq. I was all the way to my second tour in Iraq, and I was just going back to Iraq because I was like, oh, combat's not that bad. At least there's stuff to eat. And when I met my future wife, she liked me before I liked her. She doesn't watch these episodes, so I can say that out loud. But no, and I would never have like chased her down in the real world. But it was funny. Out of all the reasons that I'm married to her now with 10,000 kids and stuff, I was sitting with her in a room, and she had left for leave for a week or so. And while she was on leave, I was gonna get engaged to this gal from Nashville because I was gonna move my band down to Nashville was the goal or something like that. That was the life goal at the time. And I'd put some announcement on social media, probably like MySpace back in the day, but I put some announcement on social media about that. She came back and she was frustrated with me because I guess she was more in like with me than I thought she was. And she was like, "Well, are you happy?" And she walked out of the room, and I had a second biggest God moment of my life. And I mean, faith is a big piece of my life, and I just felt the Spirit just like out of the blue, like illuminate this path in front of me with like a house and kids and a stable life, 2 parents. And her little question, "Are you happy?" I was like, "No, I'm not." But that was the first moment where I thought I could do this. That thread of hope, that's where I picked up the thread. And here I sit now, lazily living what to me feels like a much easier life than I ever thought I could be living, with a beautiful family, beautiful wife, as stable as you can get in the world nowadays. Although federal government is a little a little interesting the last 12 years, but no, that makes sense. And you stuck it out for the family too. That's critical. I think people have a tendency to draw into themselves, and I do want to call this out, and they give up on themselves first, but when they give up on themselves without realizing it, they give up on their family. And also, I talk to people who are dealing with difficulties, and they think that their family has given up on them. Did you ever feel deep down inside that you were an embarrassment, or, I mean, any of that ever creep into your mind or heart?
I felt like a failure, that's definite, but I didn't feel like they thought I was for whatever reason.
Good.
Um, and I can see where that would have been much more difficult. Um, Now the other side of that is I didn't live close to my family, my siblings, and we didn't live close to her family, so we were kind of off on our own. Everyone stayed in Utah. Everyone stayed in California. We were in Utah, and we were on our own. The only people we had was each other, really. And this was shortly after, and you may know the timeline for me, but this was right after both my parents passed away.
Yeah, I
I,
do.
I really had nowhere to go. This is one of those, I got to make it because there's nowhere else to go.
I remember visiting you when Kristen bit through her face.
Yeah,
Was in Rancho? Was that in Rancho?
that was in Rancho Cucamonga. Yeah,
Was that an apartment
or
or a house?
that was an apartment.
Okay, okay.
He fell off the couch.
Oh, that fell off the couch onto the table or just onto the floor? I don't remember fully, but
I think the coffee table.
oh
I
yeah,
think it. I think it was you and your mom and one other person.
yeah. I remember the transition period. I remember when Rancho Cucamonga, just a total second aside, I remember when there was space between it and LA. And I went
Yeah,
back to visit recently. It's just a big city. It doesn't stop. Like,
no freeway and more freeways now than when I lived there.
yeah, it used to smell like cow poop. Now there's no cows. Like,
They moved
uh,
them further east.
they did. Um, okay, so then the support of a spouse. I want to bring this up too, because if you're watching this and you're a spouse to somebody who's going through this lack of success, how is that support integral to you? What would that support look like and feel like, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, it wasn't so much um, what Julie did as what she didn't do. Never negative, never, which had every right to be. I don't know why she was. She had more faith in me than I did, but turns out she was right. But she wasn't negative. She didn't, um, say negative things. It was always positive, always for the well-being of the children.
And so, I'm going to talk through your efforts here a little bit, because I think that you might be being a smidge humble, but it doesn't sound to me like you ever stopped and just said, well, I'm going to throw my hands up for a minute. Sounds like you just immediately went to grit, right?
So, yeah, yes, that is correct. But there was just one day when I lost that job offer in Idaho. That was probably the lowest day. That was like, sorry, that's my dogs in the background.
That'll happen.
That was like, one day where I could have easily gone the other direction. Why I didn't, I really don't know. I think it was just faith and hope that got me through that one day. And then it was right back to work. I gotta keep working. I can't give up. I can't stop. I mean, if it's got to turn around eventually, and I just got to do what I got to do. If it was go to work and dig a pool, if it was go to work and finish concrete, if it was go to work and dig a hole, shovel, I mean, whatever I had to do.
Okay, now from the future vantage point, I really wanted to touch on this in this episode. I haven't asked you this question before. Be interesting to hear your answer. I have my answer when I sit back and look back at my own life, but Do you ever reflect just quietly into yourself in the places that you've been now? And I mean, you live on the top of a mountain. You could. I mean, it's gorgeous. You certainly have been blessed. But do you ever reflect on that from where you're at now?
Yeah, frequently. I tell people, um, and you might view this as, uh, I'm not trying to be humble. I'm not smart enough to have made it this far on my own. I really, I honestly believe I've been blessed. Obviously, there's people who've done way better than I have, but um, I look back and the path I can see. I don't know what your audience is, but I can feel God's hand in my life. Um,
Oh, we've done everything from
yeah.
super faith to alternative
So
medicine, so we're going all the way here.
so let me.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Bring it.
so I was living in Southern California. I had 3 daughters at the time. And my oldest daughter was about to start school. The school she was about to start was about to go double shifts, because it was so overcrowded. The student to teacher ratio was ridiculous. The schools weren't safe. Um, if if someone had come to me and said, "Look, you need for the better of your family, you need to get out of where you're at and move to somewhere that will be better, a better environment to raise children," I would have said, "No, this is where I was born and raised. I'm not leaving California." It literally, in my opinion, it literally took my world coming to an end there with no other option. The thing that I look back and I don't look at my economic success, I look at my children. Um, I look at where they would have been raised and what they probably would have turned out, judging by people I know that stayed there. And my daughters and the people that they are. I don't think that they would be who they are had they been raised where I was. Um, I look back and think, okay, I was blessed that I was pulled out of that environment and thrust into this against my will. Honestly, again, I fought moving. I did not want to move to Utah. When I left school here, Julie and I saw Provo, Utah in our rearview mirror and thought, we are never living here. And that's where we ended up. And it was a blessing for my children.
Now, when you drive up and down the highways of Utah, I mean, there's like a building on every side of the street that you've built there, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
which is nuts.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah,
I built that one.
Yeah, there's one building I still drive by and tell my kids when I visit that I was part of building. I mean, there's probably still some of my sweat in that one building, just caked into the cement. But okay.
Did you just say cement?
Yeah, what, cement, concrete?
It's concrete.
Oh,
it's concrete.
That's how bad of a listener I was. I still occasionally, Eugene, between me and you, I'll try to like make paths and stuff because in my own head I'm like an expert because like I used to pound nails into wood. Turns out I'm not an expert at all. So
I like giving people a hard time when they use the word cement to refer to concrete.
Well, there it is. I have failed the concrete test. So now, what about subordinates and employees? Have you seen people go through similar struggles? Have you been able to use your past to help empower other people? Have you been able to pay that thing forward with your team members over the years?
Well, I'll give you sort of a recent one. I've had to lay off a lot of people over the years. I mean, that's the nature of construction, especially in an environment or a climate where you have harsh winters. We're not as busy as we are through the winter, so you try to keep your key people going, and then you've always got rotating people that you're laying off. I mean, here they kind of expect that they're going to be laid off in the fall. In fact, some people have other jobs, ski resorts or snowplow or whatever. I recently had to lay off a superintendent. but that's I've been through that, so I know what it was like. And so I told him, I said, if we get this work, I will hire you back in an instant. We didn't get that work. But I said, what I can do is I'm going to find you a job, because I've been there. So I reached out to other companies that were competitors that I have good working relationships with. And I said, look, I have to lay off this superintendent. I need to find him a job. And I was able to actually find him a job at another company I used to work for.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Laying off,
But
especially when you've been there.
yeah, but to see the look in his eyes, to see his face just drop like the rug's been pulled out from under you, and it had. I relived every moment with him, and then I had to drive him. He was in a company truck, so I had to drive him 30 minutes, home, and just it was sad.
Yeah, we had earlier this year, when things were kind of popping in the government, one of our clients, have to be careful with my wording here, one of our clients gave me about a 3-hour notice that I had to originally let go of a very large team. I was able to fight and negotiate with some assistance from some other folks in my company to maintain like a skeleton crew, but time was running out. It was getting towards the end of the day, and their stuff had to be out of the building, and we weren't in the same location. We actually had to hop on like a Zoom call to say it was horrible. And
Yeah, that was.
yeah, and boy, if that's livelihood, that sucks. Being a boss sucks too sometimes,
Yeah.
because you've had to be the same guy that dashed your dreams, but you understand the economics behind it and just roll forward. So, what's your big what's your number one thing, if you could talk to somebody in their ear the moment after they just got laid off from their dreams and there's nothing on the horizon and they're trying to raise kids and a wife, and you had to give them just a elevator speech about where to go next, what would you tell them to do?
Just keep going. Just keep doing it. Just keep trying. Don't give up. You're gonna go down a road, and you just can't stop. You just gotta keep going.
So
Don't give up.
yeah, you actually gave me that advice when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, because I was getting close to retiring from the Army, and I was like, wow, I know this Army thing pretty good, but my other skill sets are kind of regional, and like I may not live in the right region. And I did. I dug and dug and dug, and then in my particular circumstance, the day I finally retired from the Army, I had taken an okay gig with a hospital system, and I was the director of security, and things were going okay. And I was using some of my skill sets, but it kind of felt beneath me, And the day I retired from the Army, without any forewarning or anything, I just get a phone call from a general I used to work with. And it was a general that I used to kind of butt heads with, of all things. So it wasn't like my best friend was calling me like, hey, I got this gig for my homie. It was like, and this general says, hey, I've got a company that has a role for a people person to help kind of lift up the organization, build in hierarchy, build in ops, build in KPIs and OKRs, and at the same time do it with a people-friendly face. And she's like, I thought of 2 people that would be really good for that. The first one, who would have been better, did not take it, but you. oh, here I go. So she says, you're number 2, but we'd like to see if you're interested. And I sat back and was like, okay. Like, oh, there you go. Look at that. I've been whining for 2 years, and I just get a phone call out of the blue, much like you stopping by a job site. Hey, this looks like a Home Depot. And that was probably something. I'm assuming they didn't have that out in the sign, because that would have been cheating.
No, it wasn't on a sign.
Cool. Well, I can't think of anything else to ask. That's a wonderful story. There's people, I pray for the impact of this show. So I hope someone can
Well,
just listen to your story. Yeah, go ahead.
can I flip the interview around for a second?
Yeah, go nuts.
What do you think? And I have my own answer to this. I have no idea what you're going to answer. What do you think is the single best piece of advice I've ever given you?
Gosh, best advice you've ever given me. You told me once to, this is before I had kids. I don't remember the context of the conversation or the when or the where of the conversation, but you told me to take my kids to church
Yep.
every week. And we don't even miss church camping. Like we've kept to that. And for all the
So,
problems we see out there, knock on wood, it works pretty good. That's the best advice you've given me.
I think that's the best advice I've ever given you. And it was in the context of, we did talk about future family, but it was the context of I don't care what church it is, go to church. I think what had happened is, I think you had asked me how my kids turned out the way they did. And I said, here's what you need to do. You need to raise them in a setting where they have some values, where they have a belief and a hope in something, in a better world. And that direction is God.
Yeah, and your 5 kids are out there doing exactly that. They're all so wonderful and unique and different at the same time. I mean, Robin and Kristen are about as far from each other as a person could
Yeah.
be, and they're wonderful and doing
Yeah.
amazing stuff. And Megan,
Well, and the three
yeah,
behind them are the same amount of difference between them.
yeah,
It's crazy.
It's been amazing. I couldn't have predicted any of their paths, much any less than they probably could have predicted my path. Because when I parted ways with you guys, heading to Wichita, I'm pretty sure I still had a mohawk and some spikes on, and yeah. And I was going to go live in a van again. That was my ambition at the time. So
And with orange wheels.
with orange wheels, which was paint that I sort of co-opted from your company. But yeah,
That's the crazy thing. Is, all 5 kids, same mom, same dad, same home. They just came different. I mean, nothing we did. They're all unique, but they
yeah,
all turned out great.
yeah. No, we're knock on wood. I think we're going to do okay. I've got I've got high hopes for my kids, and it's an interesting world they're going into, and I don't know what the right advice anymore is. Like, I think trade outweighs college right now in my mind,
Yeah,
as far as
I
where
would.
I want to send my kids. Yeah,
If I had to do it again, I'd be an electrician.
I said the exact same thing recently when I was like, because right now in the management world, which is not nice, right? It's nice, the pay is good. I'll have to admit, all that stuff is good, but sometimes it's 60-hour weeks, and it's overnights and weekends, and it's travel. Like, I just went out to Napa. And everybody's like, "Oh, you going out to Napa? How fun!" Well, I didn't go out to Napa for anything fun. I went out to Napa to sit down and like speed date 12 commercial companies about potential for pairing up. Not fun, like
Yeah.
hard work. And then you're in the hotel after even having those meetings, taking notes and writing up proposals, and it's not fun. It's a lot of work. But just being an electrician, you can make a good chunk of change just doing 40 hours a week. A good chunk of change.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how much stress I was under. You mentioned early on, I was half owner in 2 different construction companies, and I sold that. After selling that, I have lost 50 pounds.
Uh,
I'm sleeping, I'm exercising. I don't have the stress I had.
I believe it. That will come in my future too. I think I've got about 10 years left, and I need to go do that same thing, because I'm like glued to a chair these days, Eugene. That's like, for anybody that's jealous of my role, which I wouldn't take it away. Like, if you're struggling for employment out there, I would look at me like, you lucky B word too. But it's stress. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
in my career, I don't know if the interview's over or not, but
No, keep going.
in my career, I was fortunate enough to where I didn't have to be at a desk the whole time. I mean, there were times when I had to be at a desk, and I was usually at a desk at least almost every day. But that what helped me was being able to go out and work. I mean, you saw that. I'd be out in the field working still throughout my entire career till next week. I'm going to be working outside still.
Yeah, actually, I still watch videos of random walls tilting up. So
Yeah, I'm doing that again. Hopefully next Wednesday or Thursday.
what did you put? Anything big and cool?
The crane will be big and cool. The building's just the same old crane, but we recently used, and if you saw that recent post, that was an 800-ton hydro, which we don't normally use, but that was a lot of fun. It's fun to see a crane that big, just reaching out every which way, and as far as it'll go, reaching and lifting 80, 90,000 pounds. It's cool. 50 tons.
That's nuts. I still that's got to be the upkeep and maintenance on cranes. That's got to be a whole different thing. Like I can't even imagine the bottom line of that. But all right, I think we've covered everything. Thanks for your time. Thanks for giving some advice for people who are struggling. And I hope and pray, as always, that this touches one person that needs to hear it. And
this is a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I was really dreading this, but thank you. It was a great opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Well, good. Your story matters. It's hard to even think back to being in that spot, because I certainly can empathize, but I've never been in that spot. Luckily, all my days of struggle were pre-family. So, yeah. All right. Well, love you, Uncle Guy. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Enjoy the football game that's on here shortly.
Yeah, I'm leaving right now.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
I just want to sing sad songs till the break of dawn with a guitar on my knee. Clear night sky.